Hello everyone. Welcome to our I-CBT Friday discussion group. I'm Mary Hosbrough, one of the co-facilitators for these discussions, along with Margaret McCall and Sylvie Levine. And we are a group of clinicians who meet regularly on Fridays to share information about learning I-CBT, to expand awareness and have healthy discussion. So thank you so much for being here and being part of this. If you're new or you're watching the recording, I do want to share a little bit about our format for these gatherings. So some Fridays we have general open I-CBT discussions, and other times we've had presentations about modules, panel discussions, and presentations on special topics. So most of those presentations have been recorded and they're available on the website icbt.online and on the I-CBT YouTube channel. So once we get rolling here, I will drop those links in the chat. And if you've found your way here to this live event, it was probably through the I-CBT Facebook group for clinicians and researchers. So that's where you can find out what the event is each Friday. So today we have a special topic presentation by Amanda Petrik-Gardner. So in a moment, I'll ask Amanda to introduce herself and her topic, which I don't know anything about, so I'm super excited about this. But I wanted to extend gratitude to you, Amanda, for all that you've contributed to our I-CBT community. So for those of you who don't know, Amanda often contributes to our open discussions and consultations, and she answers questions and shares her insights. And she's presented several times for us before on modules, and has freely shared let us record them and share the recording and shared her slides. And she's also a brilliant artist and creates and shares amazing infographics as illustrating I-CBT concepts. So thank you so much for everything you do for us, Amanda, and thanks for presenting again today. I'm going to just turn it over to you and let you introduce yourself and then roll right into your presentation.
Thank you. I wasn't expecting all of that. And you even said my name correctly. Amanda Petrik-Gardner. If you don't know me, I'm an OCD specialist here in Kansas. And we're talking about Twine, which probably nobody's heard of because I hadn't even heard of it before. So if you're at a computer or even have an extra device, feel free to kind of use it along with me. The website is just twinery.org. And I want to give a little background how I even explored this or found this. I'm curious if anybody has ever heard of the choose your own adventure books. I was a child of the 80s and 90s. Okay, one person, Angie, knows me. No. The choose your own adventure books were stories where you would begin reading and they would start off the same way, and then you would get into the story, and at some point they would give you a choice. They would give you an option. It would say, do you want to respond this way or do you want to respond this way? And based on which decision you made, it would tell you to go to a different page. And then based on what page or what path you took, the story went a completely different way. Right. And so then you turn to that page and the story took a different path. And then it kept doing this throughout the whole novel. And it was always so much fun because I don't know if most people just read it once and then they were done, but I was always like, let's go back to the beginning because I want to see how you could change the story. If I had taken this path, what would the story have turned out like? Like if I had chosen this door, or if I had chosen to ignore this monster and had turned to this page, what would have happened then? And so randomly, like a couple months ago, I was just thinking about I-CBT. We always talk about multiple stories and how you have a trigger. The trigger is always there. It starts the same, but depending on what path you take, our relationship with the trigger, the story can turn out totally different and the feelings change and the compulsions change. And I'm like, it just reminded me so much of these awesome books, the choose your own adventure books, that I was thinking, I wish I could find an app like that so we could create an interactive way to create our stories, these obsessional stories, alternative stories. And so I got to searching for apps and platforms. So I found Twine. They're not sponsoring me. They're not paying me anything for this. And I'm not even like stuck on Twine. So if anybody finds any other platforms or apps that can do this, feel free to find them. I just wanted to find something where you could write an interactive story that allows you to take whatever path you wanted to help show clients like you can start here, but then you have a choice. And then once you take this choice, you can go here. So that's kind of the background. This is how I ever found this platform and started fooling around with it. So I'm going to share my screen and show you this platform. I hope you guys find this as cool and fun as I do, whether you even use it or not. I'm going to show you all the different ways I have used it. Little background, mostly done it with teenagers just because it kind of makes it more fun. I have done some of the skills, like I've used it to make quizzes and to make obsessional sequences. So those I've used with adults, but the more storytelling portion of it done with younger audiences, not that adults wouldn't like it. But I'm going to show you some examples of how I've used it. And then I figured I'll show you guys how you can even construct it yourself. And we can even like make one ourselves while we're here if you just want to see all the options. It's very simple to use. You don't need to know how to do any kind of coding or anything like that, but it gives you the option. If you like that kind of stuff, you can make it more advanced. So I do the most simplistic form. So if you guys are ready, I'm going to share my screen. So if you go to twinery.org, this is what will happen or what will show up. And one little note I learned is that depending on what device you use, it will only save the information to that device. So like the first ones I created were on my phone. So now, or on my laptop. So I can only access those stories from my laptop. So create them on whatever device you're on. So here are some of the stories that I've created on my computer that I'm sitting at right now. And in fact, I'm going to go back right here. I'm going to show you one. The first one, I think I uploaded or showed the Facebook group and I created on my laptop, so it's not on here. This is an example of a story. This was basically the trigger. If any of you have heard my cruise ship example, I have used way too many times now, so I apologize if you've heard it too much. This is the trigger that, clients often identify. And then I could make an inference. Which way could this story go? I see my dad pick up my daughter, and he's standing next to the edge of the cruise ship with my daughter. Which way do I want to go? Anybody want to unmute? Which way do we want to see the story go?
Drop her over the edge.
Drop her over the edge. Okay. So it's possible. I do remember seeing a story from 2019 where a grandfather accidentally dropped his granddaughter through a window of a cruise ship. I don't know if anybody remembers that story. It was awful, and it all of a sudden popped into my mind at that moment. It was tragic. I just noticed Krista saying, geez, Margaret, of course you would choose that. It could happen to me. My baby is a climber, and there are open windows on this level. I'm ultimately responsible for her safety. No one is going to take care of her as well as I am. And I should what? Should I ask my dad to stay away from the edge, or should I trust my senses that I see she is safe? Now, I just, for the purpose of the Facebook group, just created something quickly, but you could do whatever you wanted with your clients. Just giving them options here. So stay away. Stephanie, are you telling me to ask my dad to step away?
Don't get too close to that edge. We don't know what could happen.
Exactly. So dang it, I'm in the OCD bubble and I know it. I'm now tearful. I'm trying not to cry in front of my family because I'm there with my whole family, my brothers, all their siblings, my nieces and nephews. I fell for OCD's logic, but it was super convincing. Now my job is to identify what got me here. What thoughts took me out of reality and into my imagination? Now, just in case anybody's thinking, I wouldn't do all this until I've gone through all the I-CBT steps, the whole protocol with the client. But just to give an example of Twine, Who wants to do this? Who wants to find out the crossover points, or no, thank you. OCD is what's keeping my child safe.
Crossover points.
Let's find crossover points. So I just typed some of the crossover points that were impacting me at that moment. Not trusting my senses. I had my feared self there. I had that hearsay story. Just the fact that it's possible. Okay. I understand it. I'm all better. Or yikes, that was a lot. Maybe I need to go and discuss that one step at a time. Do you guys want to see it one step at a time? Or do you guys understand it?
Let's see it one step at a time.
Love it. Okay. So we're going to go. So like you can see, the first step was not trusting my senses. So you see there's this little back arrow. So at any point in time, you can go back. So maybe I give a little spiel about not trusting my senses and kind of a reminder here about what do we do to trust our senses. So I wrote some information about that. And then maybe I do some information more about trusting my real self. And if anybody wants to see this example about the cruise ship further, I put this in the files of the Facebook group. And then maybe you want to talk more about hearsay stories. And maybe you want to talk more about possibilities. And now I understand the reasoning process. I can trust my senses. I stop relying on remote possibilities, stop falling for irrelevant associations. Let's try this again. Here's another story. I see my dad safely holding her as they look at the ocean. His arms are wrapped around her. He has held her hundreds of times and held all of his other 8 grandchildren and 4 children thousands of times. She is smiling at him as he talks to her. They look through the clear glass wall that safely keeps them on board as he points out the water to her. He continues to walk up and down the cruise ship with her, pointing out things. I hear her babbling to him, calling him Papa. She is safe and enjoying her time on the vacation. So that's just an example, even if you think it's a silly example, like it's how it can be used. Now we could go I'm just going to go back to the beginning. Let's say Margaret wasn't so morbid and said, what if the 2 of them just enjoy their time together? Okay, I just went straight to the alternative story there. All right. Or let's say we didn't trust it, but we chose this route instead. You can just see, we can just go a lot of different directions. So that's one example. Do you guys want to see those some other ways that I've used Twine? Okay, let me share a different screen. I hope you guys like this as much as I do because I just thought it was fun. So I started using this for the obsessional sequence, and I'll show you how you create this. This is kind of like the blueprint or where you construct your stories. But just a simple way to show, here's what your sequence looks like, and allows them to click through. So this doesn't create like multiple options. I'll show you one like that later. But I've used it just to create a simple sequence. Nothing fancy there. Okay. Probably the thing I'm using it the most for, I've put in all the quizzes. And so now it makes doing the quizzes with clients really easy. Who wants to guess the answers? Or are people doing it in the chat? B. Correct. Okay, somebody guessed the wrong answer. The doubt is about a need for control. Oh, you need to go back and review obsessional doubts, and then it'll go back. Somebody give me the right answer. A doubt is about possibility. And so I've put all, and it just makes the quiz is so much more fun with clients, just takes 5 minutes out of the session. So we do this. I have found it only works like on a computer. So like, and maybe I'm just dumb with technology. Like I can't get it to work from my phone, but if anybody else does. So like you can take this HTML file, clients can pull it up on their computer so I can send them the quizzes and they can do it from home, stuff like that. So let me share a couple. Like I said, I was just going to show you several ways I've used it. When we have a discussion about what inferences are and how you can create many inferences coming from one trigger, from one situation. Whether I use this example or I'll have them come up with an example, like I'll say something like, you know, you hear a bang on the wall, right? Or a knock at the door. Tell me what inference you would come up with. And what was the reasoning process behind that inference? Why did you think that? Or tell me a lot of inferences. What are all the possible inferences we can make about that? So here, I hear a knock at the door. Who do you guys, what's your first thought? Who's that knock at the door?
Amazon Prime.
That's always my first thought too. That's why I put it first. So
A
what story? What'd you say, Susan?
A murderer.
It's always a murder.
It
That's
is.
what our client thinks. So let's say if you said Amazon Prime, so what story went through your head to conclude that it was Amazon Prime? What was your reasoning process? So I just put a couple examples here, but what would you guys say to think it was Amazon Prime?
Because it's always Amazon Prime.
See, I need to add that. I'm going to add that one. It's always Amazon Prime. Okay. So I haven't done a lot with this one, but I'm going to then talk to them about if that was the inference you chose, right? Why did you choose it? What was the reasoning process? How do you feel? What would you do if you thought, right? I can't keep up with the chat at the same time. Let's say our client thinks it's a murderer, right? And we're going to talk about that. What reasoning process concluded it was a murderer? How do they feel if that's the inference that they go down? What would they do if that's, I'm so mad I don't get to read all the chat stuff at the same time because I feel like I'm missing out on a good discussion.
One of the thoughts was, well, murders rarely knock.
Oh, see, I'll
So
have
that's
to
what the chat is, only polite ones.
So I used the interactive stories just to show how multiple inferences can be made, help them discuss how the reasoning process concludes that. What else? A next door neighbor. I just kind of gave some options for all of these just to demonstrate this. More often than not, I create a specific one for that client. I have them come up with a trigger and we generate something together. So none of these are client specific ones. These are just boring, plain examples.
So Amanda, are you like pulling this program up and having them put their own story in there and fill it? I mean, this is part of your session, right?
I've done both. Let me stop sharing screen for a moment. I have done where just on my own time, I've created like based on their story or something they've said, I've created it and then sent it to them. Just like, here you go, play around with this. Or we've done it in session, like their obsessional sequence. We just created it. It takes 5 minutes so they can see step by step. Or like that example where a knock on the door. We kind of created that in session saying, oh, I use you hear a bang on the wall. So we create that trigger and I say, what's the first thought? What inference do you create? Well, something must have fallen off, like a picture frame fell off the wall. Okay, what was the reasoning process behind that? Well, there's a picture frame. I hung it, so it must not have been hung too good. And then we talk about what other inferences could we have made? Again, maybe there's a burglar, or maybe it's my dog. My dog ran into something, just to demonstrate some of these concepts. So all of the above. Sometimes it's in session. Sometimes I do it out of session. Just kind of depends on time.
Looks really cool.
I'll show you one more example of something I've done. This is a very simple one just to show you can go either way. Oh, this is TMI. I'm so sorry, guys. This was for your eyes only, except now that it's recorded. It's for the whole world. So I see small traces of blood on the toilet paper after my stool. Margaret, which direction do you want to go?
wonder if I have colon cancer.
Yes. Well, here was my reasoning process. And guys, this is why I ended up getting a colonoscopy at the age of 20, because I convinced myself I had colon cancer. FYI, I don't. So here, based on that reasoning, so I kind of put together the first few modules. If you want to read that. Otherwise, we can go back. Or a normal reasoning process would go, it's hemorrhoids, guys. I've had a couple kids. Now, at the time, I didn't have kids, so I'm making that conclusion now. At that time, I didn't. Here's what my story would be now, though. So that's just another example. You guys tell me, do you want me to show you how you create them? We could even have some fun, make one up ourselves.
Yeah, I felt confused about the build process. Like, can you walk through, if you have time?
Oh,
can you walk
absolutely.
through that a little bit?
We have time and it's so simple. Like I said, I don't do coding, but if people do coding, you can like then create, you can change colors and all of that stuff. So just create new. What do we want to call it? Somebody make up a doubt. I will type it all, but I don't want to be the creative one making it up.
If I don't follow all my rituals, I'll go to hell.
Okay, so it's the hell story.
Yeah.
Whoop. Oh, goodness, I can't even highlight it. So this is what the screen's going to look like. It's like your blueprint. You can move. This is the very first passage, the first thing that's going to show up, and you can move it anywhere on here. So what do we want our first passage? Do we want it to be like the trigger, the thing that triggered them, and then give them options? Do we want to start with the doubt? What do you want it to say?
Let's start with the doubt.
Okay.
What if I'm going to hell?
So the information here, anything in this block is what they're going to see. To get them the options to click on, all you do is put it in between. What are these little symbols called? I don't even know. These brackets?
Brackets, yeah.
Okay, so you're going to put them in between these little brackets. So what options do we want to give them?
How did you learn that? Like, will the app teach us?
Oh yeah, there's tutorials.
Okay.
Before you go in. What do we want to give them the option? Like, should we make it simple? Just like, I don't care. And then another option is I do a compulsion.
Yep.
Okay. So if you'll notice when I put the other two brackets, boom, it just created another passage. And let's make another one that says, what compulsion? I excessively pray.
Sure.
And then boom, boom. And it created another passage. And you can move these anywhere, just however you like to organize stuff. All right. And now we just have new passages and you can write whatever you want in there. But if you want to go ahead and test it out at any point, what if I'm going to hell? And you can choose either one.
I see. That's
Okay.
cool.
So I don't care. So if you don't care, somebody clicks on I don't care, what's going to happen? I go on about my day. And we can decide if we want to make buttons to click on from there. But let's do this one. I excessively pray. What do we want to write on I excessively pray? My OCD gets worse. And then, I don't know, what do we want to make some options here?
There's not enough prayers in the day. I run out of time.
Ooh. Okay, so there's an option. Somebody want to give me one more option?
Satan is happy.
Ooh, I like that one.
We know how Susan thinks.
Well, we need an option that says the right option, right?
Oh, here's our right option.
Oh, okay. We can't get out of this one though.
Oh, we should. That is nice. Okay. I decide to get OC treatment to help.
Or I decide to use the obsessional sequence. See where I'm at.
Let's do that. I decide to, and you'll notice, let me hand this over. It'll change it as you change this. I decide to create my obsessional sequence to see where I got, that's a long one, tripped up.
Mhm.
And it changed
Okay.
it. Okay,
Great.
so now at any point we can just see, we can test it. So obviously if we go to I don't care, I just go on about my day. I excessively pray. Now we have options.
Okay.
And we can decide if we want to
Mm.
go on from there.
This
So
is
we're just making an interactive story. Like I said, I feel like the younger audiences like it more, but maybe I'm just weird. I think adults could have fun with this too. What
see
else do you guys
having
want
fun with
to
this.
see or do?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So under
So as-
I
Oh, go
create my obsessional sequence to decide where I get tripped up. You could
Uh-huh.
continue there and maybe list the tricks or something. Is that what
Yeah.
you're thinking?
So let's identify the tricks and you can write whatever. One thing I should tell you, at some point you can loop them back together. So if at some point you want this to come back to, I don't care. Like you go through all the tricks and you do a great job and you want to say, I don't care. It will come back to here. So because sometimes our stories, you eventually get them to a point in treatment where they're like, oh, I get it. I trust my senses now. Like in the cruise ship story, you'll
Yeah.
notice I got to a point in the cruise ship story, I looped it back to the I'm trusting my senses. Here's my alternative story. So just depending on what you write in between the brackets, you can connect it back to another passage. So that's one thing too. And if I delete that, it'll unloop it. So let's identify the tricks. Anything you guys want me to write there? You kind of get that.
Hearsay. Or it's possible.
Rules. There's often rules with satanic stuff.
Right.
So that all of a sudden, and you can test it from any point in time. So let's test it from there and just see what it looks like. And then you could go through each one of these and write something. And at some point, once they're like, I got it, it's resolved, you can then maybe loop it back to the beginning and say, okay, what if I'm going to hell? And see if they click on I don't care.
I could see this being used to remember how I think it was Tori, maybe one of them came up with a double Jeopardy game where you identified the tricks and cheats and you gave examples in which trick and cheat. I could see that being used here as a game, maybe.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah, I could see that being. This could be used to make a lot of different games. Okay. What do you guys think? Did I totally waste my time or is this fun?
Oh,
Okay.
way fun.
Like I said, if there are
Yeah.
other apps or platforms you find, this literally was the first one that came up. So if there's a better one, but it's doing its purpose, it's simple to use.
Can you add images in there?
I bet if you're good at coding, because you can do a lot of things. You can change graphics, colors. I think it said images. Let me go back to the very first, the front page. It says you don't need to know any code to write it, but if you do know how to do that stuff, you can make it way more advanced.
Amanda, I'm curious, have you, without sharing any specific details, have you used this with clients yet? What do they think? Like, how is that flow in session? Anything that you can say about actually using the app?
Yeah, so like the quizzes are what I've done the most with, just because it makes
Mhm.
it so much more simple than like go use the handouts. And so we do
Yeah.
that, makes it more fun. The sequences I've had, so instead of me pulling out like a whiteboard or us just writing it down, because I'm all telehealth, so it's just made it a lot more
Mhm.
fun and interactive. So we've done the sequences, and then again, it just makes it more fun than once we can like pull it up and click it. But I can also then, you can download it. Which again, not that I need to show you guys every little step, but in case you're curious.
Yeah, the more you show me, the better. That helps.
Perfect. So somewhere here, oh, publish to file. It basically means download.
Okay.
It'll create an
Okay.
HTML file, which again, an HTML file, it'll look like this. When I open up, like click on it from my computer, it opens it up like, looks like a website.
Okay.
But I've only found it to work on a computer like device.
Hmm.
I'm not sure about tablet. I should try a tablet. So I have created things in session, like we've created their sequence, kind of like using it like a whiteboard, but an interactive whiteboard, and then emailed it. Like I said, teenagers, we've done the fun, like let's create multiple inferences. Whereas with adults, I'm often just doing that verbally. Let's figure out all the inferences. So teenagers, we've done it like that, interactive, so then they can click and choose. So yes, I've used it with a few clients. I just think it makes things a little more fun, whether people here work with younger audiences or do telehealth or trying to find a way to make it a little bit more interactive.
I could see using it in an office as well, like having an iPad or something in the office and going through and going, hey, which one do you want to choose?
Mm-hmm.
And especially with the different inferences, that would be helpful for someone who really gets caught in stuff. They get stuck on one thing and coming up with alternate stories and demonstrating that there are alternate options.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Mary uses a TV, right, to project your screen, whatever's on it. So in the office,
Oh, that would be nice with it.
Yeah, I have a big TV, and so then I just like Chromecast and it'll project whatever's on the screen.
Hmm. That's all I have. So tell me what else you guys think or have questions or want to create something else, or I can show you. I mean, all the quizzes look the same, but I've just copied and pasted them all into the documents or into the Twines.
I hope
Is
if
it
people start using this, that they share it. Is this something like someone could post their creation on Facebook and then someone else could take that and use it with a client?
Yeah, like so if somebody wants to try, pull up the Facebook group and the I-CBT Facebook group, because I downloaded the quiz 1 HTML file to show as an example. And I'm curious, like, can other people that are here on a computer, does it work for you? Because then we could share them.
Are there any privacy concerns with it? Like I'm sorry I got on late, but are there any privacy concerns in terms of like, do you have them sign an extra consent, and like do they have a does the Twine nerd, whoever Twine is, do they have access to this?
Good question. I do know it's only saved to your computer, so it's not out there, like no other device can even access it. So like somebody can't even go onto another device on your same home and pull up Twine and see it. Now, can the people from Twine? That's why I would not put any identifying information, even if Twine could see my sequence. There's no names, there's nothing identifying in there. So they see my health story, but there's no private health information about my health story.
So if you email it, you have to encrypt it too.
Yeah, I would absolutely. If we
Yeah,
emailed
okay.
anything, we should just make sure that we're using our secure emails.
It worked, Amanda.
Oh, good. So yeah, technically, if we want to, we can share
mean-
HTML files.
I'm thinking if we wanted to make hypothetical stories that we could then share with a client, not a client's particular story, that would be fun.
Yeah.
To be able to do stuff off theme, right? That would be
Yeah.
cool.
And that's why you guys see on my screen, I don't even have any of my client stuff in there. Once we've made something or emailed it, like I delete it. I don't keep it any longer. So all the ones I have only have on here and saved are just my examples. Pretty much after the session and it's downloaded and sent.
clients like sharing with you and kind of like helping editing or something? Is like the file can be shared or no, like between you and your client?
You can download it,
Mm-hmm.
HTML file, and then you can send it from there.
But can it be like edited by
No,
both?
nobody can edit it from there.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And if anybody has concerns about sending stuff, I feel like it's no different than when we email clients any other kind of information. Say just do it in session, live with them.
I'm just
I
trying to
try-
brainstorm and think
yeah.
of like other, like, I'm wondering, you know, with all the brains we have here, like,
Exactly.
what are other ways you could, like, this is the first time I've ever seen this. So I'm like, okay, what could this be used for? Like,
This
there's
is why I
probably
can't
lots
sleep
of
at
ways.
night, because I'm
Yeah.
like, how could I make a choose your adventure I-CBT book?
Yeah.
And then I get up and start searching in the middle of the night. So. I'm so excited people think it's cool, because I do too. Wow.
I can tell you that module 1 quiz questions didn't show up on my iPad. And Margaret, I'm guessing you're on a computer.
Yeah, so it looks like just on computers, so we'd have to make sure
Yeah.
everyone's aware. Like I said, it didn't work on my phone. So good to
Mhm.
know, not on tablets.
Darn.
So
Yeah, because I think it's great.
yeah, it just makes things a little more fun. And again, since we're
Yeah.
teaching about stories and how you can choose several different paths, which path do you want to go down?
Amanda, can you give us the website or?
Yeah, let me put it in the chat again, twinery.org.
Oh, that's easy.
Yes.
And I found when I clicked on it that there were 2 options, and I went for the just do it on your computer option rather than the download the app.
I did the same. I've always just clicked use in your own browser. If anybody tries downloading the desktop app, let me know what that does. Anything
We're all
else?
too busy trying it out.
I know,
playing
yeah,
with
it's
it.
like-
I think we've got a couple questions. It looks like Angela might have a
Angie?
question, and I think we've gotten a couple questions from Angela in the chat.
Oh, I missed that. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Can you hear me yet? I have
Yeah.
to talk for a second until it starts using my voice.
I can hear you, Angela.
You can hear me. Okay. I think I downloaded the desktop thing and it looks confusing to me. Like it's asking me to make a repository name or some other weird stuff. That's kind of why I asked, like, hey, should we go through a downloading of it so we can all see what it looks like together, but maybe I just need to use it on my browser, like you said.
Yeah, I'd probably just click browser because then it just takes you.
Okay.
That sounds way easier here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and do that if I can.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, since we still have 20 minutes, we can have fun and add more to our hell story, create a different one, or we can stop recording and talk about something else. Mary, it's your show, so you can decide.
Well, I'm open to input.
Just for the sake of my lack of creativity, can we go back to your story that you shared with us, Amanda, and just see where like the rest of the choices went? Like, I know we went to all the good places, but there was a place somewhere near the end where it was like the person never, the cruise stories, the person never got it, you know, like I would just be curious what you used.
Oh, yeah. And I made this just for the sake of Facebook when I made that video. So I don't even know if it's a great demonstration, but what if my dad drops her over the edge and I'm going to ask him to step away from the edge. And I say, which one would you like to go down? I'm in the bubble. Do we want to find the crossover points or no, thank you. OCD is what's keeping my child safe.
No, thank you.
All right, you're right. We didn't explore this one. I don't even know what I put here. I've learned that it's not OCD that's keeping my child safe or keeping my child. Oh, that's supposed to say safe. See, typo. My real self has kept my child safe along with my senses. I use a combination of my senses to tell me when there's danger. If anything, being in the OCD bubble makes me more susceptible to danger because I am in an altered state and no longer present with my senses. This is unfortunately when I am more likely to miss vital information. This is so true. Let's explore those crossover points now.
Love it. Thank you.
Now I've noticed a typo and that's going to drive me nuts because I can't edit it any longer. So then it just takes you to those crossover points. Thanks for that.
Oh, thank you. That was good.
Yeah, we skipped that one. So
I was the Choose Adventure reader who had to go through every story, so I had to finish that one.
I was the same way. I wanted to see every single possibility in those books. And so I read them 100 times. And so I would be the same. I'd be like, back, let's see this one. Oh, let's see this one.
I'm thinking about that in relation to like when you get to module 6 and you're talking about relevancy and you try to illustrate the selectivity of the doubt when you're coming up with examples about, well, why don't you worry about the radon or other invisible things, or why don't you worry, like, then maybe it would be cool to make ones for other possibilities people don't worry about, because then show the normal reasoning process that how you don't even worry about those, or something along those lines.
Oh, I love that. Okay, that's your challenge. I want to see a Twine about the selectivity of possibilities and upload it.
I'm just brainstorming, thinking about ideas, ways to use it.
I know. Well, I love the game examples people mentioned, like with Jeopardy. Because just like the quizzes, it could go to, if there's a wrong answer, it makes you go back. If there's a right answer, you get to select another.
I'm going to wait another minute, see if anyone has any more questions or suggestions. If not, I'll go ahead and stop recording. And then, we can always, during the rest of the time, if someone thinks of something, bring it up, but then just kind of see organically where the conversation goes from here. So does anyone have any more questions or suggestions about Twine specifically?
We did.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, we just had one pop up in the chat about, it says if you don't go back to the site, the browser you are using will delete all stories after 7 days of not visiting this website. Have they ever deleted your stories, or are you on it all the time, was the question.
Oh, so if you haven't visited it, I mean, I was even just gone in Maine for a whole week and they're all still there. That was 10 days. So
that's good.
It also says, don't you have to press archive to save?
I haven't had to press save or anything. It just automatically saves everything. It's probably good to maybe download it every once in a while, just in case, but no, I haven't had to press save. Nothing's deleted itself.
And you've downloaded?
No, I haven't downloaded any, like the ones I just showed you. I haven't downloaded those other than the cruise one.
Okay, I just went there and I didn't download the app. I just did.
Used it in your browser.
Browser. So, and I started writing something silly and short just to test it. So I want to see if it's still there. But yeah, that'd be nice if it. This is fun, Amanda. I'm sorry, I have no brains because
that's okay.
my brain is on Twinery.
I know, and if anybody gets more information about it, like I'm not an expert on Twine. I literally just discovered this a few months ago. So don't come after me if your stories disappear. Like I'm not, I don't work for
No, but I mean, this has got so much potential and it's fun. And I can think of like several patients where I'm hoping it could be fun. It better be, or I'm going to scream at them. No, I don't mean that, but it should be. I would think it would be. And it's probably just like often happens, the people you think will like it don't, and the people that you don't expect to like it will. Because I will try it out with everybody because I like it. It's great.
And let us know how your experience goes with that, Susan, if you're determined to try it out. Like, I
Definitely.
can see that we could make a Facebook thread and where people can, you know, continue adding about their Twine experiences
Definitely.
too.
I think that's a great, yeah. Great idea.
So
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing this with us, Amanda. That's really, really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everybody's excitement. I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like, what is this? This is stupid.
It's not, it's really fun and creative. And